You've glassed the bull. He's 280 yards away, moving towards a natural pinch point in the timber below him. Wind is in your face. You have a stalk route planned. Everything is set up. And then you reach for a call to help him along. The moment that call goes out, every elk in that drainage is oriented towards exactly where you are. The bull stops. Cows throw their heads up. The stalk that was already working is over. The hunter who doesn't call picks up his feet and closes 200 yards to that 80-yard mark while that bull is still moving on his own is the winner. Most hunters call even when they already have the advantage. They've found the bull, they have the wind, they have a stalk route, and then they reach for a call to speed things up or confirm the bull is still there. Calling when you already have position is how you give that position away. Every call broadcasts your location to every elk in the area. A stalk and a bull that now knows exactly where you are is a different hunt than a stalk and a bull that has no idea you exist. This episode builds the case for zero calling as a hunting discipline, the specific situations where silence is the dominant strategy, and what removing the call from your hand forces you to develop as a hunter. Now, I've spent 34 years hunting and guiding elk across a wide variety of terrain and 30 years as a professional strength conditioning and nutrition coach working with athletes at every level, including years competing as an elite athlete myself. The best athletes I know don't improve by just adding more random stuff. They improve by removing what they're leaning on that isn't working. And zero calling does the same thing for an elk hunter a lot of times. It strips out the shortcut and enforces you to hunt. Now, I love calling. I do a lot of calling. So before the keyboard warriors get their digits warmed up and start firing away, know that I will do a whole lot of calling this year. But I also believe that I have a foundation of skills that allow me to hunt close distance and spot and stalk elk as well. And that's what we're talking about here. Now, when you call, you broadcast your location to every elk in the drainage, not just the bull you're targeting. Every cow, every satellite bull, every animal within earshot now knows where to find you. And bulls that respond to calls don't always come in clean. Experienced spot and stalk hunters describe it consistently. A bull responds to a call and then moves away while keeping tabs on your position. He circles. Maybe he holds it 150 yards. He looks for what should be there, and when he can't see it, he leaves. You heard him respond and thought it was working, but he's gone the whole time. Spot and stalk hunters with decades of documented experience put it plainly. Calling during daylight hours on pressured elk oftentimes does one thing. It alerts elk to the hunter's presence. An elk that doesn't know where you are can't pattern you, can't avoid you, can't circle you. The moment you call, you give him all that information for free. Zero calling doesn't mean you can't get close. It means you get close without telling the elk you're coming. Those are completely different stalks. If you've already located a bull with your eyes, you don't need a call. You need a stalk. A bull at 300 yards moving towards a feeding bench doesn't need to know you exist. He doesn't need to be called. He's going somewhere already. Your job is to figure out where that is and get in front of it, not necessarily to open your mouth and shift every set of ears in the drainage towards your position. Calling a bull you already have eyes on does one specific thing. It concentrates the entire herd's attention on your location. Whether it's very visible or not, they know you're there. Cows orient towards the sound. The bull orients towards the sound. Every animal between you and him is now looking at the exact place you're standing. A stalk through a drainage full of animals that are all watching in your direction isn't really a stalk, right? It's a gamble. The zero calling rule when you have a visual is simple. Close the distance. Doesn't mean you don't get to call when you get there, but let him move on his own pattern. Get in front of that pattern before he gets there. There are setups where calling was never part of the plan at all, right? And those setups produce some of the most consistent success rates in elk hunting. A water hole with fresh tracks and active wallow mud nearby doesn't require a cow call to work. A trail pinch point between a bedding bench and a feeding drainage doesn't necessarily require a bugle. An elk is going to visit that water whether you call or not, because his biology takes him there. He'll walk through that pinch point whether you call or not, because his pattern runs through it. The ambush setup requires his presence, not his cooperation. Calling requires him to decide to come to you, which he can refuse. A water hole doesn't give him that option. He's just coming there and he doesn't know you're there. Hey, If you hunt public land elk and you're tired of grinding through random seasons, I built the elk hunting series of ebooks for you. Most hunters don't struggle because they lack effort. They struggle because they lack a system. And that's exactly why I built the elk hunting ebook series as a complete progressive framework for Western elk hunters who are done guessing and ready to hunt with intention. Volume 1 is going to be Foundations and Reality. I reset your mindset and expose the assumptions that quietly wreck seasons. In Volume 2, Finding Elk and Understanding Pressure, you'll learn how elk actually move under pressure so you can anticipate instead of react. In Volume 3, Terrain, Wind, and Position, I break down how to use landscape and thermals to consistently create opportunities. In Volume 4, Calling, Silence, and Pressure, sound becomes a decision tool, not an impulse. In Volume 5, Bow Hunting Execution, we're talking about close range strategy so you can finish your encounters. And in Volume 6, Late Season and Post Rut, we're talking about how elk shift after the rut and how to adapt when others quit. This is a system built for consistency. This isn't theory. It's a structured system to help you find elk, read country, and make confident decisions every season. Buy each volume individually or bundle them all to save 50% off at backboneunlimited.com. Hunters with long documented records on ambush setups near active water, wallows, and established trail pinch points consistently report dramatically higher success rates than on called-in encounters, at least for them. I've called in plenty of bulls, so again, we're not bashing on calling. We're just talking about, for a lot of folks, those types of situations and tactics have worked better, and the math makes sense. Position removes the variable of whether the elk decides to respond. Calling introduces that variable into every single encounter. So zero calling forces you to find the position before you think about whether a call is warranted, and that's the right order of operations, whether you plan on calling or not, regardless of eventually what you decide to do with the call. The hardest calling situation in elk hunting is a herd bull already surrounded by cows. His motivation to leave those cows and walk towards a sound from a direction the cows won't go is effectively zero a lot of times until peak rut, I believe, which is a topic for later on. A cow call tells him there's a cow somewhere over there, but he's already standing with a bunch of them, so he doesn't need any more necessarily. He's happy with what he has. A bugle tells him there's a bull over there, and he might not answer, right? He might answer without moving a step, but he's not really going to go do anything about that if that call is outside the bubble, right? If it's too far away. So trying to call a committed herd bull away from his cows fails far more than it works, and most experienced elk hunters know this. That's why they will use spot and stalk, or they will get inside the bubble and challenge him during the peak week of the rut. The better play with a herd bull oftentimes, though, is to find where that herd bull is going and get in front of him. Shadow the herd from a distance with the wind right, staying out of sight, watching for the bull to step away from the cows or for the herd to move through terrain that creates a stalkable situation. That takes a lot more patience than calling. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of foundation. It also produces a lot of dead bulls. You're hunting the elk's natural movement instead of trying to override it with a sound. Now, in over-the-counter units that receive real hunting pressure, bulls figure out what calling means very quickly. Not over generations, but within single seasons, right? A bull that's been circled by hunters running cow calls in the first week of archery season has direct experience with what that sound brings. By the second week, that bull's not committing to a call a lot of times. He's leaving the area where he heard it. Using a bugle in heavy pressure country puts bulls on edge and drives them into deeper security cover a lot of times. Experienced hunters working pressured over-the-counter elk say the bugle is the tool most likely to end your hunt before it starts in those conditions. The move in pressured country is often to skip the call entirely and find the terrain that educated elk have retreated into. They didn't go silent because they stopped existing. They went silent because they moved into the one patch of nasty, inaccessible, overlooked country where they could recover from pressure without being hassled. Find that terrain. hunt those elk there. They're not expecting you because most hunters aren't willing to go where they went. Your silence is part of what gets you in there close. Remove the call from your hand for an entire season and something happens to your hunting. You can't call elk to you, so you have to find them. And finding them requires understanding of feed areas, bed areas, water sources, transition zones, and the terrain that connects all of those. You start reading sign better because sign is now your primary intel. You start glassing longer because you need visual before you start moving. You develop patience because you're waiting for elk to arrive on their own schedule instead of trying to trigger a reaction. Those are the fundamentals that make a hunter dangerous in any phase of the season: peak rut, post rut, early season, late season, on a vocal and silent elk alike. Calling can gloss over weak fundamentals in the right conditions. Zero calling exposes every weakness you have as an elk hunter immediately and forces you to fix them. The elk hunters who fill tags most consistently across years and conditions aren't always the best callers. They're the hunters who found position before they ever decided whether a call was warranted. Now, the case for zero calling isn't that calling never works. That's not what this episode is about. I use calls. I sell calls. We have our own Backbone Unlimited line of calls. This is all about learning how to build your fundamentals before you use the calls, by getting in close, right, before you use the calls. It's that most hunters call when they should be hunting, when they already have the position, when they already have eyes on the bull, when the ambush is already set. Find the position first. If the position is right and the bull's already coming, put the call down and close the distance. Most of the time, if you've done the work right, the call is the one thing standing between you and the shot, not the thing that seals the deal. Now, if this episode made you realize you need a better elk plan this season, don't just watch another video and hope it all comes together. Build your plan right now. If you want to study my full system on your own, start with my elk hunting series of ebooks. If you want daily guidance, accountability, and a place to ask questions as season gets closer, join me on Team Backbone. If you want my eyes on your actual hunt plan, your maps, access, terrain, pressure points, wind, thermals, and your hunting strategy, book an elk hunt plan audit with me and I'll help you tighten it up before season. If the missing piece is your body, your legs, your lungs, or your ability to handle mountain miles in a heavy pack, check out my Backbone Unlimited training plans. It's never too early or late to get started. And if nutrition is where you need more structure, getting leaner, fueling long days, or building a better in-season food plan, check out my nutrition plans. The hunters who are ready in September are the ones who start tightening their plan right now. So go to backboneunlimited.com, choose the path that fits where you are now, and I'll help you get started. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll see you in the comments. You know I read and respond to all of them. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.